say the word memory, perhaps the first thing that comes to mind is your cell phone, your laptop. How much memory does it have? How much memory does it have left? But the truth is that the human memory, our capacity to remember, to hold on, or to let things go, or to forget not by choice, it's extraordinarily complicated. The more memory our devices seem to hold, the less memory we seem to be capable of. Losing our memory is complicated. It's a curse. But a perfect memory may not be such a blessing. The pasuk that we read as part of our davening on Yom Kippur, Ko Amar Hashem, thus said Hashem, says the Navi, Zacharti la chesed ne'urayich. I remember the chesed, the loving kindness of your youth. Lech tech acharai bamidbar. You followed me into a barren desert. You followed me into uncharted territories. Be'eretz lo zerua, to a land that was not fertile, that had not been planted, that wasn't blossoming. On Yom Kippur, on the Day of Judgment, Hashem looks back nostalgically on our history as a people, on our relationship with Him. And He remembers specifically the wonderful times of our journey in the midbar, in the desert. The love, the loyalty, the embrace, nostalgically recalling just how wonderful, how joyful, how closely we felt connected. How inspirational, how uplifting to look back on our history in that way. But the problem is, it's just not true. Those 40 years were filled with rebelliousness. We were obstinate and stubborn. We were non-compliant and non-observant. Those 40 years we were ungrateful and complaining. Yes, we had moments of closeness and intimacy and greatness, but those 40 years were more accurately defined by an adolescence and a rebelliousness. So how can God truthfully say, Zacharti lach, I remember how blissful, how wonderful it really was. We're all familiar with the disease that ravages the human being, Alzheimer's, dementia, which robs us of memory. Among the greatest tragedies, and I know there are those listening who've been affected directly or indirectly, to see someone who physically is healthy and yet mentally becomes incapacitated, debilitated, loses the ability to recognize or to hold on to memories or to be able to draw from them. It is truly a painful curse, painful not only for the person going through it, but those around them. But do you know that there's another type of decline? There's another type of a mental diagnosis, which some might long for, but be careful what you wish for. There's an illness called hyperthymesia, which is the inability to forget. There's only a handful of human beings on earth who have this perfect autobiographical memory. Mention a date in their life, they could be in their 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, and they'll tell you what they wore, what the weather was, and everything that was ever said directly to them. Now we would long for such a memory, to be able to draw from Torah, from everything we've ever learned, to have a perfect memory, to be able to remember every person, every experience, every trip, every journey. It's something we think we long for. But such a memory is not only a blessing, it also contains a curse, because it means that the person who insulted you 20 years ago, the person who left you out 30 years ago, the person who made the insensitive, thoughtless comment 50 years ago, it is as biting and acutely painful today as it was then because of that perfect memory. Memory's complicated. We don't want to lose it, but we also don't want to hold on to every part of it as perfectly as if it just happened right now. Perhaps what Hashem is modeling for us, and what on Yom Kippur, on this holiest day of the year, we are to follow ourselves, is the ability to have selective memory. Zacharti la chesed ne'urayich. God is infinite, omnipotent, perfect. He remembers every aspect. He remembers every moment of that 40-year journey. And yet, He chooses to focus and only remember the joyful times, the closeness, the connection, the obedience. He chooses to remember the effort and the investment in one another, and to simply let go. To let go of the pain, and to let go of the grudge, and to let go of the parts of that journey which were hurtful, likely unintentionally, and likely which don't bear on the relationship as a whole. We, on this holiest day, Yom Kippur, are to remember the gift and the effort of memory, but also the gift and the effort of forgetting, of selective memory. To look back at our lives and at this year, the slights and the hurts, and to let them go. You know, in this pandemic, 6-7 months, it's been complicated and difficult, emotionally grueling for each and every one of us. We have to be willing to give the benefit of the doubt. We have to be willing to recognize that others are doing the best they can. I want to ask Mechila, because I know and I feel and I have felt and I've been in pain each and every day that I could have done better and more to reach out, to connect. As large as our community is, and as complicated and difficult and borderline impossible it would be to initiate with each and every person, I have no doubt I could have done better. And to you, I ask Mechila, I ask forgiveness. But I ask you to not let it cloud the relationship with me personally, with our community as a whole. Just as I look at people in our community and try to recognize that everyone's doing the best they can, to not bear a grudge and to not feel that slight of the person who didn't respond to the text or the email, who didn't get back or didn't wish us well on an occasion, who didn't notice us passing in the street behind the mask. Not only to choose what we remember, but to choose what we forget. To employ, like the Almighty, a selective memory of Zacharti lach chesed ne'urayach. To not allow those moments which reflect only a fraction of a relationship to break or compromise or sever that relationship altogether. But like the Ribono Shalom, to employ a selective memory, Zacharti lach chesed ne'urayach. That not only is Zechira, is Yizkor, is Zachor a positive and a blessing, but so is Shichacha, so is that capacity to forget. When we look back on this pandemic time, what will we choose to remember and what will we allow ourselves to forget? How will it be ingrained and embedded within the memory and the consciousness of us and our children, our family? What will be the active memories we carry, and what will we select and allow ourselves to forgive, to forget, and to be able to move on? As we experience Yom Kippur, and we emphasize and focus what to let go of and forget, it's also important whom we remember. We remember our loved ones. We remember our parents and our bubbies and our zaydis and our aunts and our uncles and our neighbors and friends. Those who selflessly devoted and dedicated themselves, who paved the path, who went on that journey that enabled the lives that we have today. Pandemic and all the blessings in our life of who we are and of how we live. We will never forget. We will never selectively remember. We will never move on. But we choose Zacharti la chesed of our ancestors or those who come before. And so on this Yom Kippur, we offer mechila. We allow ourselves to forget what's important to forget, but we never allow ourselves to fail to remember what and who are critical to remember. Join me. There are many who can't be here for Yizkor in person, who will recite Yizkor tomorrow at home. Let us remember all those who paved the way for us. Let us continue to feel their loving embrace, their hug, their supportive hand on our shoulder, their encouraging word in our ear. Let us remember over Sukkot their recipes, their flavors, their songs, and their zmiros. Let them continue to inform and inspire. Let us continue to affirm we will always remember and we will never forget. As we enter Yom Kippur, may Hashem bless us. May He bless us with a memory, and may He bless us with the capacity to forget and forgive that which is not important. Wishing each and every one of you a Gemar Chasima Tova, should be signed and sealed for a year of good health and happiness, of blessings, and only good things.